ChatGPT said, "Get out of the car now. What the hell do you think you're doing in this area at this hour?" That's the kind of line that'll rip you right out of your own thoughts. You know what I mean? It came at me like a thunderclap, booming through the night, shattering the sleepy quiet of Gladwin's $1 Million Avenue. If you've never seen those red and blue lights whip across your rearview mirror at midnight, count yourself lucky, because when you're a black man behind the wheel of an old Lexus in a place like this, that flashing is never just a warning. It's a verdict delivered before the trials even started. Most folks would have panicked right then, hand shaking, breath catching in their throat. But me, I just let out a sigh, long and worn out, the kind you develop after years of reading the fine print in thick law books, the kind that says you're not afraid anymore. Just tired of fighting the same old battle. Ever wonder what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Tonight, on the damp blacktop lined with mansions and manicured lawns, we were about to find out. But the roles, who's the force, who's the object, weren't as clear as you might think. Me, in my tweed jacket and glasses, driving a car older than half the neighborhood kids, didn't look like much of a threat, but don't believe everything you see. And the cop swaggering up behind me and already brushing his holster, well, power sometimes hides insecurity better than a badge hides prejudice. The officer's name was Frank Miller. You could tell by the way he walked, too big, too loud, like he owned the street. Behind him trailed a younger cop, Officer Chin, nervous, hesitating at the edge of the headlights. I'd seen that dynamic before, the pack leader and the one just trying to fit in. My car, a 1998 Lexus LS 400, was more than just a car. It was a piece of my past, a reminder of the years I'd hustled in big city law firms before switching over to serve the public, back when ambition was a friend, not an enemy. But to guys like Miller, it was just another reason to be suspicious. Black man, beat-up car, nice neighborhood, late at night. It didn't add up in his world, and he didn't bother hiding it. A hard knock rapped on my window, and when I rolled it down, the night air brought in that damp smell of rain, earth, something dying under the leaves. Miller's face was all twisted up, eyes small and mean in the flashing lights. "Know why I stopped you, buddy?" he drawled, drawing out that buddy like it was a joke. I just looked at him, steady, and answered, "Good evening, officer. Is there a problem?" He started throwing questions like darts, not really expecting answers. "Your taillight's cracked. That's a violation. But the bigger problem is you. What are you doing here? Visiting someone?" Name and address. He didn't want my story. He wanted a confession that would fit his narrative. "I just left a friend's house," I told him, voice flat, trying not to add fuel to his fire. When he pressed for the name, I said, "Officer, that's personal information. I don't believe you have the right to ask for it over a minor traffic stop." That just made him madder. "So you don't want to cooperate, huh? Give me your license and registration now. And don't do anything stupid." I moved slow, deliberate, so there'd be no excuse for misunderstanding. He snatched my documents, shining his flashlight over them, reading my name, Marcus Aurelius Thorne, over and over like he couldn't believe it. "Your folks must have read a lot of books, huh? Or you make that up to sound smart." He flashed the light in my face. "So what do you do, Marcus?" "Something tells me it ain't cleaning streets." Behind him, Officer Chin shifted. He looked about as comfortable as a rabbit at a wolf's convention. He'd come into this job to do good, but what he was watching. This wasn't policing, this was bullying. I kept my answers short. "I work for the government." I didn't offer more. I learned long ago that any extra detail would be twisted, used against me. Miller sneered. "Government? Huh? City Hall janitor? Or are you one of those welfare bumps?" I let it roll off me, but I could feel Chin's shame growing by the minute. "Officer, my papers are in order. If there are no other issues, may I go?" That question, so polite, so correct, made Miller's jaw clench. "Get out of the car," he snapped, the moment where a routine stop threatens to spiral. I knew my rights. "With all due respect, officer, you have no reasonable cause to ask me to exit the vehicle. Under Pennsylvania versus Mims, you can ask me to step out for your safety, but there's no basis for a search without reasonable suspicion, and under Terry versus Ohio, any search must be founded on suspicion I'm armed and dangerous. A cracked taillight doesn't meet that bar." Chin blinked, surprised. He'd never heard a civilian rattle off case law like that in the middle of a traffic stop. Miller didn't care. "Oh, so you're a street lawyer? Think you're smarter than me?" He jerked the door open, grabbing my arms, rough, no warning. I let him drag me out into the rain, cold drops blurring my glasses, my shoulders slamming into the car's wet metal. Hands on the roof now. He cuffed me, tight enough to bite into my wrists, and began to search me, patting me down like he was looking for lost treasure. His hands found my wallet. Inside, $2,000 in poker winnings from my friend's house earlier. Miller's eyes lit up. Aha. Drug money, right? No government worker carries this much cash. He flashed the bills to Chin, triumphant, then pocketed them, didn't even pretend to bag them as evidence. "I'm confiscating this," he announced, smirking. "And you're coming downtown. Let's see how you like spending the night with your new friends." My chest ached, not from fear, but from disappointment. Not just in him, but in the system I devoted my life to. But that sadness didn't last. I steadied myself. The evidence was all there. The lines had been crossed. Now it was time to call the bluff. "Officer Miller, your badge number is 714, Lower Marion Police, right?" He blinked. "So what? Gonna write a letter?" "No," I said. "But I want you, and your body cam, to know you just committed unlawful arrest, assault, and theft of my property. That's a crime under color of law." He laughed, but not as confidently. "You can say whatever you want, but tonight, it's your word against a respected officer." "Oh, I know exactly whose word the judge will believe," I replied, calm as I could. "And by my right, I'd like to make a phone call." He took my phone, dialed the number I recited. The line rang, and then a voice, sharp, commanding, answered. "Bob, it's Marcus. Sorry to call this late, but I've got a problem." On the other end, a moment's pause, then, "Marcus? What's going on? Are you all right?" I explained, plain and factual, where I was, who had stopped me, what had been taken. Another pause. Then, through the phone, a voice roared, "Give that officer the phone. Now." Miller's face drained of color. "Who are you?" he stammered. The answer hit him like a punch. "Robert Sterling, Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania. And the man you just arrested and robbed is Federal Judge Marcus Thorne. Do you have any idea what you've just done?" It was as if a lightning bolt struck the street. Miller fumbled, dropped the phone, tried to unlock the cuffs, but his hand shook too hard. "Judge, I'm sorry. I didn't know. It was a misunderstanding." "No, Officer Miller," I told him, stepping just out of reach. "We're past that. Now we go through the proper procedure." His career wasn't just over. It was on fire, burning right in front of his eyes. Sirens grew louder. More cars rolled up. The Attorney General's people, Internal Affairs, the sheriff himself, faces white as sheets, everyone moving fast except Miller, who looked like he wanted to melt into the pavement. Sterling stormed over, draped a coat over my shoulders, and made sure those cuffs came off. The sheriff fell all over himself apologizing, but Sterling cut him off, turned to Miller. "You know who you just handcuffed? You know what this means?" Miller sobbed, actually sobbed, rain and tears running down his cheeks, begging for mercy, but there was none to give. Sterling nodded to Internal Affairs, and they read Miller his rights, cuffed him, and when they searched him, sure enough, my $2,000 was in his breast pocket, damp but all there. "Seal this as evidence," Sterling ordered. "And the body cam, too. Every frame, every word." Watching Miller go, I didn't feel any satisfaction, just the old ache of seeing the system break itself from the inside out. Chin stood nearby, looking lost. I stopped and spoke quietly. "Officer Chin, you saw something bad tonight, and you had a choice. Remember this feeling, this discomfort. It's your compass. Don't let it get numb. Someday, when they ask what happened, tell the truth." That's all anyone can ask. As the last police lights faded behind us, Sterling and I sat in silence for a while. I finally said, "You know what keeps me up at night? Not what happened to me. I'm a judge. I have friends like you. I can fight back. But what about all the people who can't? What happens to them when a badge is used as a weapon and not a shield?" Sterling nodded. "That's why we do this work, Marcus. To send a message that no one is above the law, and the badge means something." Officer Miller lost everything that night: his badge, his job, his freedom, and Chin's honest testimony and the body cam footage made sure of it. But the real point isn't just one bad cop going to jail. It's this. Justice sometimes happens right there in the rain, under the lights, in the split-second choices of regular people. So tell me, was the punishment fair? If you were Officer Chin, would you have spoken up or stayed quiet out of fear? What would you do if it were you? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about justice, power,